Yesterday I decided I wanted to visit Copa Arenas in Honduras. At this point I'm in Santa Ana, El Salvador. And over the last month and a half, traveling through Guatemala and El Salvador, I've taken at least 24 public buses, camionetas, chicken buses, vans, whatever you want to call them. And even with my limited Spanish, I've been able to navigate the transfers and everything just fine. Never had any issues. In fact, just the other day I was thinking, wow, Callie, you're like pretty much a pro at this whole foreign transportation thing. Well, let me tell you about my series of unfortunate events yesterday, traveling across the borders. I started my morning pretty early because as a solo female traveler, the last thing you want to do is navigate public transportation in another country at night. Not on my to-do list. I also had left my water bottle at another hostel all the way across the city that I had to go get. It was like a 40-minute walk, so I was like, I'll just take the bus. Well, I realized I'm not on the right road to catch the bus that goes directly towards that hostel. So I'm Googling what bus takes this road to the hostel. And it gives me a bus number. And before I could go onto like the little route map to, verify that this is the right bus, this bus comes along. And these buses don't really stop. So I have 2 seconds to think, do I take this bus or not? And I was like, I'll take the bus. Google says it's the right bus, I'll take the bus. 5 minutes in, I realized this bus is actually leaving Santa Ana. So I go to the driver, I said, hey, can I get off right here? And he's looking at me weird because we're on the side of the highway right now. And he's like, sure. Well, I have to walk 25 minutes back on the highway to get to the hostel. At least it's 25 minutes, not 40 anymore. Make it to my house, I'll get my water bottle. I have to go to Western Union to get cash because now I don't have any more cash and I kind of need it for the buses. So I go and I Google Western Union. It says it's at the grocery store, 15-minute walk away. Great, so I walk to that store. And I'm asking, there's no Western Union here. Okay, so I go to the next one. It's a 10-minute walk. Also, no Western Union there. The next one, no Western Union. At this point, I've been to 3 locations. There's no Western Union. So the last one I go was by the cathedral. And that one actually did exist. I got my money and whatever. It's like, okay, I need to get on the bus. It's already late. It's like almost 12 o'clock at this point. I was like, I need to get on that bus. So I go to the street for the bus, and it says it comes every 15 to 20 minutes. I'm waiting. 25 minutes. Finally, a bus comes by, but it doesn't stop. There's multiple people waving it down. It doesn't stop. Next bus doesn't come for another 30 minutes. He stops and honks. And me and other people are like, oh, are you going to Metapan? No, I'm not going to Metapan. Front of the bus, big letters, Metapan. Lady behind me, you're not going to Metapan? No, drives away. We waited another 20 minutes for the next bus to come around. At this point, I've waited over an hour. So it's after 1 o'clock. I finally got on the bus to Metapan. And we get off of Metapan, it was fine. I was shown the directions to the next bus to the border. I get on that one was also fine. I get dropped off at the border. Going to the border was a breeze, and there's a guy waiting with the shuttle. And he's like, where are you going? I was like, Copa Arenas. He said, okay, yeah, get on this one. I was like, okay. And I know the route in my head, right? I'm going Santa Ana to Metapan, Metapan to the border to Vado Hondo to the border of Honduras, and then the border to Copa Arenas. That's the route in my brain. And he's like, you're going to Copa Arenas? I said, yes. Usually they'll remember that and they'll stop for you. Well, we get to Vado Hondo. I'm getting ready to get off and he just drives right by. And I was like, oh, is that Vado Hondo? Yeah. Where are you going? Copa Arenas. Oh, yeah, we passed it. Well, can I get off and walk back? No. We'll catch the next shuttle. So he waves down the next shuttle 5 minutes into the drive. Doesn't stop. Another 5 minutes. Waves to another one. Doesn't stop. We get 15 minutes outside of Vado Hondo in the car. And I'm looking at the traffic on the way back and it's piling up. So 15 minutes this way is not going to be 15 minutes all the way back. Finally, he's like, that green bus, go, grab it. So I run to the green bus, I get on. It's crowded. I'm standing, hanging out the door, okay? And we get back to Vado Hondo, and I say, is this where I get off to go to Copa Arenas? And the guy said, no, this bus is going all the way to Hocotan, stay on until Hocotan, and then transfer to the border. I was like, okay. So we get to Hocotan, and I asked the lady next to me, is this where I get off to transfer to Copa Arenas? Sí. Okay. So I get off. And then one of the other ladies that got off was looking at me all weird. And she was like, you're going to Copa Arenas, right? And I was like, yeah. She's like, you shouldn't have gotten off. I was like, what do you mean? I was told by 2 people to get off in Hocotan. She was like, no, that bus was going all the way to the border. She's like, now you're going to have to go to the terminal and get the next bus. And I was like, when's the next bus? Next bus is until 8:05, okay? Border closes at 9. I was like, shoot. It's a 45-minute drive. That's without any stops. Buses take a lot of stops. I was like, I'm never going to make it. I'm sitting here, I'm looking at my options. There's not really any hotels. There's no Uber. Tuk-tuks are not going to go that far. And I was like, hey, maybe I could go to the terminal and see if somebody's going to the border. And there's another guy next to me. And we're talking, whatever. He's trying to help me out. He's like, sorry, I'm gonna take you, but I'm only going 5 minutes down the road. And I was like, that's fine. And then I looked at him and I was like, it's a 10-minute walk to the terminal. I was like, can I walk? Kid you not, his reaction. 2? No. Tuk-tuk. Noted. Okay, so he's trying to get me a tuk-tuk. None of them are stopping for me. And all the ones that are stopping are going the opposite direction. Pickup truck pulls up. He's got 2 people in the back of the truck, right? And maybe his wife in the front seat. I don't know. And he's like, where are you going? I'll give you a ride. And I was like, I'm going to the border. And he's like, oh, I'm not going that far. And I was like, whatever, I'll just try to find another person to hitchhike with. And he goes, I'll take you for 150 Q. I was like, 150? Like, I'm not paying 150 Q. Like, no. And I was like, no, that's too much. And he was like, 120. And I was like, no. He goes, 100. Final offer. I'll take you to the border right now. And I'm looking at the time. It's almost 7:30. Border closes at 9. And I'm like, shoot. Like, is this my only way to get to the border? Like, if I miss this, I'm kind of stranded, right? And I was like, you know what? Whatever. Let's go. So I get in the cab. And he's making jokes. He's like, do you speak Spanish? I was like, oh, I'm poquito. And he's like, okay. And I have my map pulled up. I'm like looking at the location, whatever, seeing if I'll make it on time. He's like, you have GPS? And I was like, what? And he's like, you have GPS? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, and he looks at his wife and goes, she's smart. And then he looks back at me and goes, what, you gonna make sure I don't take the wrong turn? And I was like, basically. So, at least my Spanish is proficient enough to joke with people. We get to this dirt road off the side of the highway, and he stops and he looks at me and he goes, I'm gonna drop these people off at home and then get back on this road to go to the border. Is that okay? And I was like, okay, sure. He looks at his wife again and goes, so she does understand Spanish. I have a feeling they were talking about me that whole time, but windows were down, they were talking quiet, and I was not paying attention at all. So, anyway, we're on this dirt road, and we are going for a while without stopping. It's been 20 minutes, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we just keep going further and further into these woods. Like, what's going on? I was like, am I gonna make it? Like, this is adding time. Border closes at 9. And I'm like stressed and I'm sweating in my seat. I was like, okay. Finally he drops me off and he goes, okay, we're gonna go back to the road. And I was like, okay. So we go back to the road and we get to the border at 8:35 or 8:40. And I was like, okay. I'm getting to the border. I pay them. When I get into it and they're doing my passport check, they're like, there's no transportation into the city at this time. And I was like, great. So she's like, you can flag down the police, see if they can help you get there safely. Or I don't know. And I was like, okay. Well, these guys behind me are like, oh, we're going to San Pedro. Like, we could take you. And I was like, great. So I hitchhike a ride with them. These 2 random guys at the border. And they dropped me off in the center of Arenas. And then I walked to my hostel. And I got there at like 9:30. It was a long day. And I'm going to give myself grace because that is the first time that I've messed up on public transportation out here, which is bound to happen. But yeah, that is how I had to end up hitchhiking to my hostel in Honduras.